Hi everyone, welcome to DeMars Coaching. My name is David. This video today is about, do narcissists get worse? It's a common question I get over the years, and it's vague also, right? Worse at what? Become a worse abuser? Do they become more sick? What exactly? I think I know what people are asking me. So let's get into it. First, realize that narcissism alone is a spectrum that we are all on. There's old narcissist tests you could take, and most of us in the world fit somewhere in the middle of that. And then you have some few that are extreme low end and a few that are extreme high end. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about people with narcissistic personality disorder. It's a personality disorder. Something described that it could be described as being rigid, never changing, breaking, not bending. Yeah. Not very agreeable, not very forgiving, not very empathetic. So it's a spectrum we're all on, and they're high on that spectrum, okay? And they lack self-awareness. We know this about narcissists. They lack self-awareness. They're very into their ego. They don't really care about who they are. They're maybe ashamed of who they are, not in touch with who they are, don't like to be too vulnerable, not concerned too much with that. More the ego. They can be insecure. They can have low self-esteem and many other syndromes and disorders. There's hundreds of disorders. I think 300 and something, 400 disorders and they can have more. They're more inclined to, for sure, if you have a personality disorder. But what's more prominent and describes them better is an absolute hunger. Something that encompasses attention, admiration, and special treatment. A never-ending hunger and thirst for this. They often have difficulty in functioning. That could be daily functioning, their daily tasks, their job, hold a job, maybe their daily interactions with people. A huge sign of someone who's very depressed would be really bad interactions all the time with people, negative, confrontational, arguing, stuff like this. This could be a problem of theirs. And again, other medical conditions, problems, disorders, syndromes. And all of this causes problems in relationships, in their relationships, which are the most important thing to us. Now, something you have to understand and tell yourself all the time is they're still a human being. Okay? And a lot of us don't want to. We want to call them different names, and aliens and evil witches, and they need to be put on an island and stuff. But the fact is that they're human beings. And they're disordered. Their personality is disordered. Our personality forms as we become adults. Our brains don't even stop growing till we're 25, 26, okay? And this personality is disordered, and a lot of it has to do with their upbringing. So these problems causes major problems in their relationships. They're failed, they're traumatic, they're abusive, and it may be all from them, sure. They don't meet their own emotional needs, which is the most important thing in our life. They just don't do it. And they cannot. They don't reassure themselves and make them feel secure and give themselves emotional attention and privacy and none of them. They just don't. And they're completely dependent and reliant on others to do that. And remind yourself that external factors, external sources of these things aren't enough. We have to be self-reliant and do it ourselves. Now, there's also neurosis. Neurosis can be defined as a few different things that people have different definitions for. Basically, it could be as simple as just your brain functioning. But really, we're talking about stress. Neurosis will get worse under stress if we have neurosis, if we're high in neurosis. Narcissists could be very high in neurosis with a very poorly broken self or fragmented self. Their neurosis could be higher. Anxiety, things like this. Also navigation. How they navigate their life is important to who they become. Do they get worse or not? A lot of it depends on the choices they make. And the problem with making mistakes, and you could just chalk so many things up in your life as mistakes, can't you? And you could talk up, I met the narcissist, right? That was a mistake, and I committed to him. That was a mistake, and I stayed in this relationship, and all that was big, bad mistakes. And the only way, even though the narcissist did this to us, even though we were victimized by them, we must take some kind of ownership to avoid this again. If we just go bad narcissist, we'll do it again. And so we have to take some ownership, helps us understand we have a little control and we cannot make that mistake again. And it all begins with looking at myself, looking at yourself, taking some sort of self-inventory, self-stock, introspecting, right? And it can hurt. And narcissists won't do this. But doing this helps us not repeat mistakes. And mistakes are good to make, and sometimes it's a necessary way to learn. But making the same and similar mistakes causes shame. And it's no longer that we did a bad thing and I'm guilty of it. It's I'm a bad person. Just like children that are hurt long enough and feel bad long enough start believing they're a bad person. Okay? So they're not looking at their self. They look at their ego. Your ego starts where your skin stops. It's the outside, external us. It's even could be considered our brain and our thoughts, not necessarily our true authentic self. So they make the same mistakes over and over and over again, causing shame and failed relationships all the time. Traits, these traits that they have, bad traits, then grandiosity, entitlement, and these kinds of things, they surface in relationships over time, and they'll surface under stress. Remember that the brain builds a network based on simply what we're doing to help us get better at it, better and better at it, and resists change. So the more we don't have very good connection to ourself, the more we are susceptible and invest in our ego. Each failed relationship harbors its own bad feelings and experiences that are all compounded together and never, because they're never processed. Never. There must be processing relationships, the ending of them, the failing of them, the mistakes we've made, the bad feelings, depression, anxiety, these kinds of things. And remember, they're human beings. And this is what human beings go through. And they can smile and they can lie to themselves and they can go to somebody else, but it doesn't work. I'm often told they just get to lie. They just get to lie to themselves and tell themselves whatever they want, and they're okay, even happy. They're human beings. They have needs. We have to process feelings to get them to go away. We have to talk to people and tell and open up. There's so much that we need to do to be honest and open with ourselves. If we don't, lying doesn't work. Being delusional, psychosis, that doesn't mean it works. You guys ever lied to yourself about things in the relationship you're in with a narcissist? Did that make it okay? Did that make it better? Or can you look back on it now and say, oh my God, I was feeling bad for so long and this is why I feel so bad now. I'm also told they always have someone else to go to, someone else to give them what they want. So who cares? I'm so replaceable. I cannot express enough. What we call and what you hear is energy or fuel that the narcissists want, attention. It's attention, admiration. It's never, ever enough. One of our most important emotional needs in our life is giving ourselves emotional attention, looking at ourselves. I can't make myself feel better unless I look at myself, unless I acknowledge that I feel bad and know why and know how to make myself feel better. And this is why they run to everybody else. The second you start making them feel bad, the second they're held accountable for something, the second they're responsible for something in the relationship, it's stress and they're gone. And they just go to someone else and it's never, ever enough, I promise. So the question, do they get worse? Well, okay, some. This is years of experience with this stuff and talking to doctors, therapists, listening, lectures. According to some mental health professionals, some can get better. I don't know if that means not have NPD anymore. I don't know exactly what, not so grandiose, not so much entitlement, or what I believe it's just some learn to navigate in relationships a little bit better to get what they want and maybe not abuse another person. I don't know if that changes who they are. Some may learn to navigate in their relationships and and function better, more in their life efficiently. In youth only. When they're very young, when their brains are still forming, when they're malleable, the rest, I believe, get worse. Often lonely, angry, bitter, hateful, resentful. The true narcissist's self is ugly and cruel. The true narcissist's self is what's capable of hurting others to get what they want. Narcissists completely miss out on the human experience. Completely. They're not discovering and loving their self, connecting with other humans and loving them, building and forming relationships that keep growing and have meaning and purpose. They miss out on all of that, okay? So I think they get worse, most of them. If you believe that someone like this is in your life, please step outside of this relationship and ask for some help, okay? All right? And anybody, that wants to share any experiences down below, please do. Thank you very much. Anyone that wants to ask questions, please ask. I hope I helped you guys understand. Maybe I hope I answered that question. Let me know if I did. Thank you. Love yourself first. Anybody that wants coaching, you can find me at daviddemars.com.